So after another terrible loss from the Bears against the Minnesota Vikings and just Caleb looking completely defeated and broken, I feel like this is borderline a cursed franchise. They've really been in a cycle of drafting a QB in the first round and then firing staff, the GM, and then starting that same cycle again and drafting a QB in the first round. I believe that started back, 2018 with Mitch Trubisky. Then they did it with Justin Fields in 2021. And they recently just did it with Caleb Williams. So I feel like they're borderline a cursed franchise right now. There's just a lot of bad energy there. And I feel like they really need someone to come in and step up because it's clearly not going to be a quarterback that's going to be a savior for the Bears. I would say it could be an owner, but I don't think the current owners of the Bears are going to sell the team anytime soon. So I don't think that's a realistic possibility. So the next potential hero, it would have to be a head coach. Can't be a GM because head coach, quarterback, and ownership, I'd say, are the three most pivotal things to a franchise. So the fact that we can easily cross two of those out right away, it kind of has to be the head coach for the Bears. And I kind of want to take a moment to really look at all the potential candidates for all the head coaching vacancies for this upcoming offseason. And I really want to break down which fit would really be the best for the Bears and what hire would also be the most realistic. So let's get into it. So the fact that Bill Belichick took the North Carolina job really makes the NFL offseason coaching hirings a lot less interesting in my opinion, but it is what it is. But with him taking off the list, the new list of potential candidates to get a head coaching gig for this upcoming offseason include Ben Johnson, OC for the Lions, Mike Vrabel, Brian Flores, Jesse Minter, that is the Chargers DC, and the Chargers are having a great defensive year. Cliff Kingsbury, Commanders OC right now. Liam Cohen, Bucks offensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn, Lions DC. Todd Monken, Ravens OC. Joe Brady, Bills OC. Vance Joseph, Broncos DC. And that's about it for the front runners. Also in there, Kellen Moore, Eagles OC, Bobby Slowick, Texans OC, even though Texans have had a pretty bad year in my opinion, but still, I still feel like he could be a name. So I really feel like there's one guy here that's just levels and levels above everyone else, and that's obviously Mike Vrabel. He has head coaching experience, pretty successful years with the Titans, and he's a culture guy. He may not be super offensive orientated, but still, he's a culture guy. He's going to reset the culture in Chicago if they do hire him, and I feel like that's exactly what they need. They need a complete 360 for that franchise. They need a complete 360 for that city. You know, there was so much hype and hope this year for the Bears, first time in a long, long time, and it all went away so quickly. They really should have lost week 1 against the Titans, and yeah, man, I'd say, like, if I was Poles, the Bears GM right now, I just go to ownership and be like, we need this guy. Like, whatever I have to do, whatever you have to do, we need this guy. If you want Caleb to be the future QB of this franchise for the next 15 years, we need to get Mike Vrabel. It's as simple as that. I hope they can get him. I'm sure Mike would have interest in coaching for a pretty historic franchise with potentially a franchise quarterback with some good pieces defensively as well, you know. Apparently, there was a report that Jim Harbaugh was actually interested in coaching the Bears when he was thinking about returning to the NFL, but apparently the Bears weren't interested. Absolute asinine, man. I mean, Jim Harbaugh on the Bears would have been a perfect fit. That dude is a great head coach. We've all seen how good the Chargers have been, even with a pretty incomplete roster this year. So, massive massive loss for the Bears. So I just hope they can get a good I just hope they can get a good head coach, man. I don't want to see this cycle continue. I want Caleb to be good, and we'll see. But if they don't get Mike Vrabel, you really have to look at OCs, the list I just mentioned. I don't think adding a defensive coordinator like Brian Flores or Jesse Minter is going to do the Bears any good. So I would really look to the OCs, and that's Cliff Kingsbury, that's Ben Johnson, that's Joe Brady. Out of those three, I would go with Cliff. And I know that's not a popular choice. I know a lot of people didn't really like what he did in Arizona, and not really a lot of people were a fan of him. But, you know, he took the Cardinals to the playoffs. You know, Kyler's only playoff appearance, and for the first part of his career with Arizona, I feel like him and Kyler worked really well together, and I feel like him and Caleb can work really well together. Just look what he's done with Jaden Daniels this year. I feel like that success can definitely be replicated. On the defensive side, we'll have to see, but I feel like they'll be competent as long as the OC can just get it going. Ben Johnson is obviously probably the second hottest name right now. It's just, he doesn't have head coaching experience, and I feel like that's very important. I feel like he could be a great head coach. It's just, you're taking a gamble there, because first-time head coach, you just don't know until you know, unfortunately. But if they hypothetically did hire Ben Johnson, I wouldn't hate it. But it would be risky. It would be risky. I feel like all these hires outside of Mike Vrabel are pretty risky in my opinion. But now the last guy, Joe Brady, the Bills OC, I think that would be potentially a good hire too. I just think Ben Johnson and Cliff are more qualified than Joe, but again, hiring Joe Brady is a better hire than hiring some defensive coordinator. So if you're a Bears fan, all I gotta say is say your prayers, cross your fingers, do whatever you gotta do, and just hope that the Bears hire Mike Vrabel. Outside of that, if that doesn't happen, then you have to hope that they hire an offensive-minded head coach. And I swear, man, if they hire some defensive-minded guy, first-time head coach, you know, Jesse Minter, Aaron Glenn, Vance Joseph, I know he had a stint with the Broncos. I don't know, like we've seen some success with that with DeMeco Ryans lately, but I just think this offense, this franchise, Caleb needs an offensive-minded guy, straight up. I don't think it's going to work if you hire another defensive-minded guy. I mean, come on, like, the Matt Eberflus wasn't really an inspiring hire, and I just hope the Bears ownership does not cheap out. Definitely going to be a stressful, nerve-wracking offseason for all Bears fans, that's for sure. There's no question about it. And, yeah, man, you let me know who you want the Bears to hire in the 2025 offseason for their head coaching vacancy. And who do you think it's going to be? Because these owners for the Bears, they're not the best owners in the league, and you know they've obviously made a ton of mistakes the past 10, 20 years. So we'll have to see what happens. If you made this far, please subscribe and help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.
First and 10. Two hands on the football and has the catch. The Chargers did a good job there on first down. That pass picks up some good solid yards. Now second and short. Much easier to call those kind of plays. Second and short. He's scrambling now. Ball is out. And the defense has it. He's brought down. The Chargers are set to take the field again on offense after a crazy sequence that didn't go their way. That turnover led to turnover points. And now let's see if they're going to get him here.